Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. This video is going to be talking about this pen. This is the Stipula, and it's called the Novecento. Novecento. That's how you pronounce it. Novecento. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but the colorway that I chose is, it's very interesting now that I'm looking at it closer. Initially, upon first glance, I thought it was more of a tortoiseshell. It is, however, it's also kind of like the, oh shoot, what's the name of that model? There's another colorway of this particular pen that's clear with gold flecks through it, which is also very similar to a Leonardo pen that I had my eye on at one point. Anyway, I was in the market for a new pen. I had some money built up from my affiliate funds through Atlas Stationer. Here's my code. If you're interested in using it, will save you 10% on most brands. And I had about $350 saved up. I'm gonna just give you my thought process. It's becoming harder and harder to pick out pens from Atlas. I mean, they only have so many brands, you know, and I've tried quite a few. Not everything. I haven't tried every brand. So when I do go on the website, it usually takes me some time to like filter through what's available and find something that speaks to me. So we know right off the bat, I love Italian pens. Stipula is an Italian brand. I love the look of this pen. I love this gold band. It's very unique and kind of reminds me of the, I didn't bring it up here, my Esterbrook Model J that has kind of a hammered gold band up here. This one's set down a little bit lower, and then here is an engraving. It says Stipula, made in Italy. This says the brand, the model name, which I think is really cool so that I don't forget it. It's Novecento. It's got a lot of really cool qualities. I'm going to go over the details of it and talk to you a little bit about my first experience with it, because, you know, it's been a little bit of an experience. As you know, when you buy a new pen, you don't really know what to expect until you start playing around with it a little bit more and testing out inks and things like that. So this is the box that it came in. It has a paper sleeve. It's this beautiful clamshell box in this red and gold detailing. It has a really beautiful faux leather interior. This lifts out, and it comes with a glass eyedropper because this pen has a very unique filling mechanism. And then a little booklet, which sadly, as I looked through the whole thing, does not have any instructions on this particular filling mechanism. It has everything else. Cartridge, a piston filler, a converter, the capless. I don't know. That seemed really weird to me, but that's what I've found out about this pen. So The colorway that I ended up choosing is called Wild Honey. Here is the labeling. I chose the medium nib. Here is the full name. I think Wild Honey, this is the Italian word for that. Or this is actually Mille Selva. I don't speak any Italian whatsoever. I'm not going to try. So it comes in a couple of different sizes. Online, it says 4 different sizes. Here, it just shows 3, but there is a fine, a medium, a stub 1.1, and a V flex. And I ended up going with medium because that's usually my sweet spot with pens. So it came in this beautiful box. I ripped it open as fast as I could, and I just could not wait to fill this up. So it's got a nice twist cap. Let's see, it twists, or it's about 1.5 to turn, 1.5 twists to turn to uncap. It has where did I write that down? 24 karat gold plated trim. This is a steel nib. The nib is very lightly engraved, which I don't know if you'll be able to see much of those details. So I don't know if you can tell just by looking at this, but this doesn't have a removable section. And I don't believe, I haven't tried to yank the nib out of there or untwist it at all. I don't know that it comes out. But this filling mechanism is called a muzzle loader. Why is no one talking about this? I saw one video about this pen in a different color from Carrots and Olives, and other than that, it is almost impossible to find, other than, you know, the typical store video, which kind of just introduces you to the model, you know, so it's just kind of a basic, you know, do they ever do a writing? Sometimes they do writing sample in those, but it doesn't show like how to fill it or anything like that. So I do know that I was intrigued right away. As soon as I saw the Carrots and Olives video, I thought, that looks very interesting. So the way this works, and I brought a little paper towel in case I drip here, because sometimes it does. You basically, muzzle loading means from the front, right? So it fills from the front of the pen. So there is a turning knob right here. And I don't know if you can see inside, there is kind of a rod that looks like clear plastic. And when I turn this, yeah, it kind of burps when I do it. Just initially. So as I'm turning it, you can see what's happening. The nib is sinking down into the section of the pen. And it go all the way down till it's completely submerged inside of the section. And to fill it, you can probably see the ink level there. It's coming up about halfway up the nib right now. You eyedropper the ink down in here. And then when you twist the nib to go back up, it sucks the ink down into the chamber of the pen. I just think that is so cool. It really is very cool. It was so easy to fill. Really super easy. And as you can see, this isn't really like drenched in ink or anything. It is a little bit wet on the feed. The feed is ebonite. So initially when I got the pen, I ended up filling it with an ink that I had just gotten from Lennon Toolbar called Cat General. So it's kind of this amber color. And I brought some writing samples up. This is the color here. And I thought, oh, that's a great color for this pen. I'll put that in there. It seemed like it was really wet when I wrote with my dip nib. But as you can see, here's the writing from the pen. And it's a big difference. And it's just not very consistent. So I'm thinking at this point that this ink is probably very dry, which some of them are, you know. It just seems a little inconsistent. Like was a lot of hard starting. There was good shading, I suppose, with the ink, but it just wasn't feeling like a great fit for this particular pen. But here's on this paper is Midori, and I'm getting the same kind of effect here where it's just really inconsistent. There's a lot of like skipping, hard starts. So I knew right away that I was going to probably have to try a different ink. So that also gave me an opportunity to see what it was like cleaning this out, because obviously I really didn't know how it was supposed to work. I will say that I probably will not put any kind of shimmer ink in this pen, just because there is really no great way to clean this out fully. Because the only way that I found that I could do it without taking out the nib, which I'm not sure if I even can yet. Maybe that just unscrews, or maybe it's friction fit in there. I'm not sure. I didn't really want to mess around with it. You basically do the same thing, but with water. So you sink the nib and suck the water in, and then put the nib back up, and it sucks the water into the barrel, and then you slosh the water around, and you flush it out the same way, where you over the sink, turn the knob, and it will eventually expel all the ink out of there. That I had to do for quite a while to get it actually cleaned out, but I was able to. But I think it would be a little bit harder to do with a high sheening or a shimmer ink, so I probably wouldn't do those types of inks in this. So that was kind of a good experience to have, just to see like how it cleaned out. I ended up putting it in a different ink, and I ended up going with a sample that I had of Robert Oster Claret. Now, this is the Midori paper, so it's not my favorite paper. I do love how the swatch looks of that ink, but I didn't really love how the pen wrote on this paper. It's a little better on this. There's some shading, I guess, but there's like places like this where, yeah, it's just inconsistent. I'm not sure why that is. Anyway, the current price of this pen on the Atlas website is $316. For that price point, I would expect a better writer. And I believe that the Carrots and Olives video also kind of said the same thing, that she was expecting a little bit of a better writer for her, but she ended up getting a fine, I think, a fine nib. But anyway, a little bit more about the pen that I wrote down here that I didn't actually say. Besides, it does have an ebonite feed, which remains, I guess, immersed in ink even when it's not in use, which is supposed to help, the consistency, which is kind of why it's confusing that it's not really very consistent. So maybe this is not the ink for it as well. I don't know. I will have to try maybe one of Matthew's wet pen inks. The wet pen inks are really nice, and they generally work really well in all pens, and I think that might be a better ink for this type of pen. But basically, I wrote down that this is a 20th century Art Deco design, and it reimagines the 19th century direct fill safety pen, which you may or may not have ever heard of. But it's a hand-turned resin body, 24 karat gold plated trim, high capacity ink chamber. You can see the ink. Okay, that was a phone call from my husband. Sorry about that. So you can see this whole area here is filled with ink. It's pretty big. I wouldn't say it's as big as a TWSBI Eco, but it's still pretty big. Now, the one thing I am noticing is that this doesn't tighten up very well. I don't really want to force it because I don't want to strip the threads. I suppose it's tight enough, but if it jiggled around a lot, I can see where that would get loosened. Anyway, let me do another little writing sample on another piece of paper just so you can see how it works. I really do love the look of the pen. I am happy with that. I'm just going to fold this over so that it gives a little bit of cushioning on this cutting mat that I'm using as a blotter. So right off the bat, there's a hard start. Now, I'm assuming that that's because the cap doesn't have any kind of, well, it does have a liner. It's very small, though. I don't even think it's considered a cap liner. There is a step down inside. So maybe that sits flush. It writes very smoothly on this paper. This paper is, I want to say it's Irriful. Or it might be 68 GSM Tomorrow River. Oh, it seems pretty thick though. I actually don't remember. It's not, I don't think it's Tomorrow River. But of course, it doesn't really tell me. So if anybody can speak that language, let me know what this is. So this is the Wild Honey colorway. This is a medium nib. And the ink is Robert. I feel like it's better. It's better with this ink than it was with the Lennon Toolbar. The Lennon Toolbar was just too dry. This is really quite a wet writer on this paper. Let me try. This is Tomorrow River paper here, so we'll try it on this and see how this is. Yeah, it's nice and wet. So that's my first impressions of the Stipula. And now, as my son is getting in the way here, I'm gonna go. But I thank you very much for watching. check out the Stipula brand. I know this is probably one of our lowest end pens price-wise. I think that they do a lot of very high-end fountain pens, but this is something I probably would not have purchased without affiliate money. So there's that. I might have, but now that I've tried it out, I think I would have. If I spent my own money on this for that price point, I would have rather spent my money on Leonardo. I just have better luck with them. But I know not everybody has had great luck with the Leonardo, but I have had great luck. And I do love the look of this pen. So, for what it's worth, there is my first impressions, I suppose. I haven't spent a lot of time with it yet. As I write with it more and ink it up more, I may have this as one of my inked pens for October. We'll see. I'm going to probably clean out some pens here soon and do a little switch over. I do really like this ink though. It's very pretty. Thank you anyway so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.